All right, so buckle up, everyone, because today we're heading deep into the Nevada desert to tackle the mysteries of Area 51. You know you want the real story, right? Beyond all the alien hype and conspiracy theories, well, you're in luck, because we've got the goods. We're going to be deep diving into an article by Christopher Nichols. He's a history professor at The Ohio State University. The article is called "What is Most Likely Going On in Area 51." And let me tell you, it really throws those extraterrestrial theories out the window.
Yeah, it offers like a much more, grounded perspective.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how for decades Area 51 was this like super secret place, and that just fueled all kinds of wild speculation. But then in 2013, the US government actually came out and officially acknowledged that it exists.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool how that happened, actually. It was all because of a Freedom of Information Act request.
Yeah.
That act, the FOIA, it's basically this awesome tool that lets anyone request access to government documents.
Yeah.
It's been amazing for uncovering all sorts of secrets, and in this case, it helped shine the light on Area 51. So,
And what did they find? Not little green men, not crashed spaceships. It was actually about, get this, the development and testing of some pretty remarkable aircraft, especially the U-2 spy plane.
yeah, and this all happened during the Cold War, right? When the U.S. and the Soviet Union were in this huge rivalry. Both sides were, like, desperate for any advantage they could get, which meant, you know, developing crazy advanced technology.
Right.
And that's where the U-2 comes in. This thing could fly so high and so fast, perfect for spying.
Exactly. Imagine trying to test a secret spy plane that looks completely different from anything anyone's ever seen before.
Yeah.
You'd need somewhere, like, really far away from prying eyes, isolated and hidden. And that's where Area 51 comes in.
Like straight out of a spy movie, right? This super remote patch of desert, about 100 miles from the glitz and glam of Las Vegas, became the perfect testing ground for the U-2 and all sorts of other top-secret aircraft.
Imagine this. You're driving through the Nevada desert at night, right? It's like the 1950s. And all of a sudden you see this weird silver object just like soaring silently across the sky, way higher than any commercial airliners. What would you think?
I mean, come on. My imagination would be running wild. Especially back then when people didn't really know much about advanced tech.
And it wasn't just the U-2. They were also testing the A-12 reconnaissance plane at Area 51, and that thing had a crazy design.
Wait, the A-12, what do you mean by crazy design?
Well, it was like super sleek, almost like a disc shape. They designed it that way to like minimize its radar signature. So, it was like a precursor to the stealth technology we see in planes today.
So you're telling me people in the 50s and 60s might have seen this, like, futuristic, disc-shaped aircraft zipping around and thought, aliens. It all makes so much sense now.
It's like the perfect example of what happens when you combine a lack of information with human imagination, right? You get some pretty wild conclusions. And don't forget, this was also a time when UFO sightings were all over the news, so that just added to the whole mystery and intrigue.
Okay, so we've got a top-secret location, super advanced aircraft that look like they're from the future, and a public that's already primed to believe in aliens. It's like the perfect recipe for a conspiracy theory, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And Professor Nichols' research actually shows that a lot of the reported UFO sightings from that time, they line up perfectly with the dates and times of U-2 and A-12 test flights.
No way. So people might have thought they were seeing aliens, but it was actually just these incredible pieces of engineering. That's mind-blowing. What about, like, all the other stories, the ones about crashed spaceships and alien autopsies and stuff?
Yeah, those are a little harder to explain, but it's important to remember that Area 51 secrecy mixed with our like natural curiosity about the unknown has created this sort of blank canvas for people to project their hopes and fears and imaginations onto.
So while the alien theories might be tempting, the evidence points to the fact that most of the weird stuff happening at Area 51 was probably just the testing of advanced aircraft and tech.
Yeah, and that's not to say there weren't still things we don't know about Area 51. I mean, it's still a super classified facility, so it's likely that some of its secrets will never be fully revealed.
Which, of course, just adds to the mystery and keeps those conspiracy theories alive.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting to me? Even with the government sort of admitting that Area 51 exists, it hasn't lost its appeal. If anything, it's become even more ingrained in our pop culture.
Yeah, it's like the idea of Area 51 being this alien hub has become a modern myth, a story we tell ourselves to make sense of what we don't understand.
So where do we go from here? If the most alien parts of Area 51 actually have earthly explanations, what about the future? Could our own technological advancements one day be mistaken for something extraterrestrial?
That's a really interesting question, and one we'll definitely dive deeper into as we continue. But for now, let's take a closer look at some of the other aircraft tested at Area 51 and how they contributed to all the mystery surrounding this place.
You mentioned other aircraft tested at Area 51. What else were they hiding out there?
Well, in the early 80s, they started testing the F-117 Nighthawk. It was the first operational aircraft that was completely designed around stealth technology.
Oh, wow, stealth technology. That's pretty cool. I can just imagine that thing like appearing out of thin air. No wonder people thought they were seeing UFOs.
Right. It's the F-117 has this really angular design and can deflect radar signals. So it was basically invisible to enemy detection. Back then, that would seem like, I don't know, magic or something.
So we've got the U-2, the A-12, and then the F-117, all these crazy advanced aircraft being tested in total secrecy. It's like the government was practically asking for conspiracy theories to pop up.
It's true. I mean, it's like they created the perfect environment for it. Secrecy just breeds speculation, you know? And when you throw in cutting-edge technology and a good dose of Cold War paranoia, it's no surprise that people's imaginations went wild.
It's like a real-life X-Files episode.
Hmm.
But seriously, imagine you're just like a rancher in Nevada in the 60s. You see something strange in the sky, something you can't explain at all. Who are you going to believe? The government, who's denying everything? Or your own eyes?
It all comes down to trust, right? And when the government is being all secretive like that, it kind of erodes that trust. It creates this void that's easily filled with speculation and conspiracy theories.
And once those theories take root, they can be super hard to get rid of, even with evidence.
Yeah, think about the Roswell incident. Even though the government said it was just a weather balloon that crashed, tons of people still believe it was a cover-up for a downed alien spacecraft.
Right, and that was way back in 1947. It seems like no matter how much evidence there is, some people will always cling to that alien explanation.
It kind of shows our desire for something more, something beyond our everyday lives, you know? The idea of aliens, of not being alone in the universe, it's just incredibly appealing to a lot of people.
It's like Area 51 has become a symbol of that hope, that yearning for something extraordinary.
And the government's secrecy, whether they meant to or not, has just fueled that mystique even more.
But what about the people who actually live and work near Area 51? What do they think about all of this?
Well, for some of them, it's just like a normal part of life in the Nevada desert. They might see strange lights, hear weird sounds, but they've just gotten used to it.
I bet there are some pretty wild stories going around those small towns near Area 51.
Oh, I'm sure there are. Some people probably just brush it off as the government messing around, while others might truly believe they've seen something out of this world.
I wonder if there's also like a sense of pride, having this mysterious and legendary place right in their backyard.
Maybe. It's definitely put those towns on the map, attracting tourists and all sorts of researchers from all over.
So Area 51 isn't just a military base. It's become like a cultural phenomenon, a place that captures our imaginations and makes us question what we know about the universe.
Exactly. It's a reminder that there's still so much we don't know. And that the line between fact and fiction can be really blurry sometimes, especially when you add secrecy into the mix.
I'm starting to see this deep dive isn't just about Area 51. It's about how we try to understand the unknown, how we make sense of the things we don't get.
Yeah, you got it. Our brains are wired to look for patterns, to try and explain the unexplainable. And when we don't have all the information, we tend to fill in the gaps with our own assumptions and beliefs.
Which brings us back to that question you asked before. Could our own technology be mistaken for something alien one day? I mean, if people in the 50s thought the U-2 was an alien spaceship, what are they going to think about the stuff we're making today?
Imagine a hypersonic drone flying at 5 times the speed of sound, or a bunch of robots working together with artificial intelligence. To someone who doesn't know anything about that technology, it could easily look like something alien or supernatural.
Wow, that's true. And as technology keeps getting more and more advanced, that possibility of misinterpretation is only going to grow.
Which is why it's super important to think critically, to be able to look at information from different places and figure out what's real and what's not.
Like you said before, the truth might be out there, but it's up to us to find it. And sometimes the journey is just as cool as the destination.
Exactly. And with Area 51, that journey has taken us from the craziness of the Cold War to the depths of human psychology.
We've talked about cutting-edge technology, the allure of secrecy, and the power of belief. But what about the future of Area 51 itself? Will it always be this big mystery, or will we figure out all its secrets someday?
That's a question for another deep dive, maybe. But for now, let's wrap things up by going over what we've learned about this mysterious place.
All right, so let's tie it all together. We've been on quite a journey, haven't we? From spy planes to stealth tech, Cold War paranoia, modern-day myths. It's kind of crazy how one place can cause so much intrigue and speculation.
Yeah, it really shows you how powerful mystery can be, especially when you mix it with advanced technology and our fascination with the unknown.
So what's the takeaway here? What have we actually learned from our deep dive into Area 51?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that most of the alien stuff connected to Area 51 can probably be explained by the testing of advanced aircraft and surveillance technology, especially during the Cold War.
Right, like those U-2s flying super high or the A-12 with its crazy disc shape back then. People must have really thought they were seeing UFOs.
And then you have the F-117, like the OG stealth tech just disappearing from radar that would blown people's minds back in the 80s.
It's like the government accidentally made the perfect situation for conspiracy theories by keeping all this tech a secret.
Exactly. And once those theories started, they just kind of became part of our culture,
Yeah.
fueled by movies, TV shows, books, articles. Area 51 just became this symbol of aliens and government cover-ups, even though the evidence points to a much simpler explanation.
But even knowing all that, there's still something kind of captivating about Area 51, right?
Yeah.
It's like the symbol of the mysteries that are still out there, a reminder that we don't have all the answers.
Totally. And as technology keeps getting more advanced, the chances of us misinterpreting things are only going to go up. Like, imagine what people would have thought a few decades ago if they saw a hypersonic drone or a bunch of robots controlled by AI. They might have really believed it was aliens.
Makes you wonder what kind of tech they're working on now that could freak people out in the future. What will people think when they see something in the sky that they just can't understand?
That's what's so cool about it, right? The unknown makes us curious. It makes us want to explore, to learn, to ask questions. And sometimes, even when we find the answers, the journey is just as important as the destination.
So what's a final thought we want to leave our listeners with? What should they be thinking about as they go about their day, maybe looking up at the sky a little more often?
I think the most important thing is to stay curious, but also be skeptical. Keep an open mind. The world is full of amazing things, both natural and man-made, and while the truth might be out there, it's up to each of us to figure out what we believe.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, we're wrapping up our deep dive into Area 51. Thanks for joining us on this crazy adventure, and until next time, keep looking up and keep questioning everything.